Scores of St. Lucians flocked to small shops and mini-marts around the island at sunrise on Thursday, April 2nd, 2020, after word of a temporary reprieve from Prime Minister Allen Chastanet on the 24-hour curfew went viral. There was a throng of people outside establishments as well as a column of vehicles near petrol stations. The gas stations with police officers providing security were earmarked for essential services. Prime Minister Allen Chastanet, who phoned into Newspin on Thursday, claimed that contrary to popular belief, a 24-hour curfew was long in the making. However, the date had to be brought up after some people got wind of the looming lockdown and made a run at local stores.
Once the information broke out and we saw later in the afternoon that people were actually starting to rush to the grocery stores, it was impossible for us not to go ahead and advance the date that we wanted to be able to introduce the quarantining, the 24-hour curfew on. And in order to be able to avoid what we saw in some videos in some other islands that tried to give people the advance warning. But that does not take away from the fact that we have to figure out logistically how we're going to distribute food to people, how we're going to make sure that essential services are making it to people, because we understand that many people live hand to mouth, and that not everybody has the capacity to store large amounts of food in their home. But at the same time, I want to remind solutions that I've been practicing and preaching to everybody, we must get into rationing.
Chastanet urged St. Lucians to reduce their level of consumption and conserve amid the COVID-19 crisis.
We must reduce our consumption. What we were consuming pre-COVID cannot be the same amount that we're consuming post-COVID. And even more importantly, if we all understand why we are trying to put everybody into compulsory quarantine, which is to protect themselves, protect their family members, and to protect our society, we don't have any other mechanism. And it's the same method that's being used around the world. We're now having to advance it because we don't know our numbers. I don't know how many people are infected in this island, and nor does the CMO. All we can do is make certain assumptions. We can hope that it's not as many people as we think it could be, but we don't know. So to be able to err on the side of caution, it requires all of us to understand what the concept of self or compulsory quarantining is.
The government has been pillared by some critics for the perceived sudden announcement of the 24-hour curfew, which caught some citizens unaware. Likewise, the temporary reprieve has also received scrutiny from some quarters. Chastanet revealed that it was modeled on similar actions taken by Grenada, which also imposed a 24-hour curfew. He concedes it's work in progress, and authorities are trying to find the right logistical arrangements to meet the needs of citizens while keeping them safe.
We must attempt to be able to impose a compulsory quarantining on everyone in St. Lucia, and we must minimize people's interaction with each other and therefore exposing each other to the virus. We know that for a fact. We also know for a fact that people have essential needs and basic needs, and somehow we have to be able to find and marry how that's going to work. And this is a work in progress, and we will continue to adjust and amend until we can satisfy ourselves that we are dealing with both of them to the best of our ability. But one thing I can say to you, if we're going to err on any side, it is going to be on limiting the exposure and the spread of the virus. Simply because I've said repeatedly, the number of nurses we have are limited, the number of doctors we have are limited, the number of ventilators that we have are limited.
The Prime Minister, while appealing for strict adherence to social distancing, underscores that the shelter-in-place, stay-at-home and lockdown measures should not be viewed as punitive, but life-saving. Chastanet argues that there is no one solution for every country, given the dynamic nature of the crisis, but assures St. Lucians that the authorities are constantly reviewing the response plan in the best interests of the safety of the public. Colby DeVoe, HTS News Force.